There we go.
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes, it is. All right. So I want to share this out. If you are coming on and you are a part of Real Women, oh, just send it to somebody and let somebody know that Real Women is on. We have T minus 60 seconds. So we want you to get hyped up with us. We've got so much to talk about. We really want to make sure that you're here from the beginning. So please share it with someone. Real Women is on. There we are. All right, I'm going to share on the Real Women page, and we will be ready to rock and roll. And come and say hello to us. Let us know you're here. Hey, Tisha, thank you for joining us again, girl. Come on in. All right. I think it's 8 o'clock. Sheba, I think it's 8 o'clock. Oh, shucks now. We are ready to get started. So I just want you all to know this is going to be an amazing time. We want you to share this out. My name is Trenace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women. And I'm sharing this out while I'm talking to you. I'm the founder of Real Women, and we exist to create safe spaces for women to do personal development work on themselves. And we do this through live and virtual sister circles. We also host annual intensives. We're just about to ramp up our registration and information for our intensive that's coming up in September. And we also have an all-access membership community where if you want more than just this weekly live, or even to be included in our monthly sister circles that are in person or virtual, you join our all-access membership, and that and many other benefits are made available to you. And so we would love for you to deepen your relationship with us. And until you do that, we have 30 good solid minutes of good discussion with you right now. And we want you to be a part of the discussion, right? This is a live chat, which means we will be talking to each other, but we're also going to be looking for your comments in the chat as well. And I see that, let's see here, we've got Tina Bell, we've got Bessie, we've got Mama Mary, we've got Diane. Hey, ladies. Come on in. This is your chat. This is not just something that we're doing for ourselves. We really want to engage with you all. So please share this out and then communicate with us. Give us some talk in the chat, as well as like and love some comments that you hear that you like, and then talk to each other, right? This is a whole conversation. So if you see something that somebody else is saying that you love, jump on in into the conversation. Hello, Eunice, come on in. Hello, Meltanya and Nicole, come on in. We would love to have you join this conversation. So that's my prelude to our conversation. I have the great pleasure and honor, if you've been here for any length of time since we've been doing these, you are in store for Frickin' Frack to talk again, for Salt and Pepper to talk again. Our aliases are many, but this is my sister, Bathsheba Smithen, and she is not only the biggest supporter and cheerleader for Real Women and me personally, but she is a giant in her own right. And so she is doing phenomenal things, transforming education, literally transforming it. And I am a personal witness to it. But I also want to make the connection tonight to what she's doing and how we as adults, as women, as mothers, as nurturers of young people can really be who we're supposed to be in order to positively influence our young people. So we have a rich discussion in store for you. If you have anybody in your family, anybody in your circle who has kids, wants to have kids, influences their teacher, they're an educator, they want to influence positively young people, get them on this chat right now. All right. So I want you to introduce yourself, Sheba. I've done a little bit. I could say so much more, but I want most of the minutes to be dedicated to you sharing. So would you not mind sharing with our audience who you are and what you do? Who are you? Who you be?
So I'm Bathsheba Smith, and it's difficult to encapsulate me, right? Hence the name of my company. I am the CEO and founder of Cage Free Voices. Let me see if I can get this mission statement down, because everything is kind of like, we're in a major shift right now. So we're revamping a lot of things because we're in the mode of expansion. So Cage Free Voices is a global educational entertainment organization that educates youth and adults who struggle with self-image and identity, and we do that by way of constructing powerful learning experiences.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
Various platforms of instruction and opportunities so that every learner has an opportunity to learn and to grow. So we believe everybody can be engaged in learning. We can tap into untapped potential, because really, in essence, the learning process is about you discovering what you already contain and not somebody depositing something into you. And so I told you a little bit about my company, but my company is a reflection of who I am. I am cage free. So people all over the place, when they try to define me, they're kind of like at a loss for words, or they're saying a whole lot of words. And so I will just say that I am a conduit for change. That's how I would describe myself, with many facets. I am a mom. Other than just being a businesswoman, like, to give you the real, since this is a real women, right? I am a mom. I am a sister. I am single.
Let them know. Let them know. You never know. Let them know.
Single again. I am single again, and so I am divorced. And so I've used a whole lot of different things that I've gone through to pour that back into my mission and the purpose for which God has created me. But I guess I am a survivor of a number of things. So if you want to put something on the table, such as like rejection or abandonment or any of those things, they are they go very deep. They're deeply rooted. So going into Cage Free Voices and looking at that, you would definitely need to get to some roots like rejection and abandonment, and being able to flourish even outside of those negative things and that dirt, to get to a place of growth and using that to help other people. So I would say I am those things, and ultimately I am a conduit for change.
Yeah, that's good. You just set the stage really well for a couple of places we're going to go. But before we do that, you got a lot of hays and highs in the comments. And I just wanted to piggyback off of your introduction just a little bit, because you were very descriptive about your company and who you are. But I want folks to know that the conversation we're about to have is so, you use the word rooted, is so deeply rooted in your experiences and how gifted you are. And you come from really tough background, not having your mother and your father there with you. You mentioned divorce, and on top of all of that, you chose to just run out and Steve Harvey calls it literally jump off the ledge and start your own business, and do it really from, pulling up your own bootstraps, just really pulling together a business where, for Cage Free Voices, you got some Cage Free shout outs in the chat, where you are helping adults and young adults and youth, because I think about your play where it was full of of adult women, and because of Cage Free Voices Theater, you were at the Kennedy Center for your first original play. Like, who does that, you know? So, and then to create this edutainment, did I say it right? I did it right? I did it right. Okay. This educational entertainment company where you end up exposing young people both to the performing arts and enhancing their learning. It is literally transformative. And I think it's because you have come from such unique and difficult circumstances that up out of that, I literally see like a concrete flower, you know, like up out of that, that concrete and that tough, you know, background, backstory, out comes this incredibly different, unique, beautiful flower that that is growing and touching so many lives. And so I just wanted to give that context to all that you shared, because I have, you know, as your sister, a front row seat, and it has been not just inspiring, but motivating and encouraging. And I see God and how he's moving in your life. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you, sis.
You're
and
welcome.
I go back to the concrete flower. I've always wanted to be in the grass, right?
Wow.
Put me in the grass. I want to be in the grass, but the intention was never for me to be in the grass. And there are a whole lot of other flowers growing up out of concrete. Hence the need for cage-free voices. And there was like some resistance at first to just, you know, trying to piece all of this together, because there's so many different things that I could possibly do, not saying it in a boastful way, but I wanted to, you know, like be on MTV or BET and just perform, but there was another purpose. And so I'll wait for your questions before delving into topics further. But I know we're gonna really go into some deep stuff when we talk about education.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. So listen, y'all, we could, as you can see, we could talk about any number of things right now, and we probably will go into more than a couple of topics. But I wanted to start off because many of us who have children or influence children, we oftentimes get frustrated either with school systems or teachers or, you know, educators. And we, even as parents, sometimes don't know what to do when it comes to our kids and helping them flourish. And I want to start with, yes, educational academic learning, but also to help them just become the adults, the productive citizens that use their gifts and their talents to contribute to the world. We're at a loss sometimes as to how to make that happen. And so I wanted to start at least at that place with you, because of you being a concrete flower and you recognizing that when someone else, another educator, a teacher, looks at a child and says, you know, they can't learn, or they're, you know, low level, or they'll never get it, you look and you see all of this potential and it gets you so excited, and really can't is not a part of your vocabulary when it comes to young people. So could you just speak to us about who our young people are and how you go about reaching them? Let's start there.
Yeah, so now here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
So much to say, so there may be times where you just need to shut me up and cut me off.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
But I want to say that from the parental perspective, right? As parents, we have to begin understanding that our students are not growing up in the same kind of culture in which we grew up. And so we need to look at them a different way. And I mean, there has always been 9 different types of intelligences, 9 different ways in which people can learn how they're wired. Because, you know, like sometimes we try to teach people according to the way we're wired. It's just like the 5 love languages. We think if I give you my love language, then you should know that I love you. It's the same thing with teaching. We feel like if I teach you the best way that I have learned, then you should get it. And that's not the case. There are so many kids who are learning differently now. And I call this culture the performance-based culture.
Wow.
That's the term that I'm using now, because even if you look at the advent of technology and where technology is going there, I had this question that I posed to my 9-year-old daughter just maybe about a week ago, because I had a student who came in and he fully like understood the concept. He was applying it. He was analyzing the concept. And then when his mom came in and asked him a question and she wanted him to give her a simple recall, he was not able to give the recall, but I can show you. Like, right. But we don't, as parents, we automatically think in our minds, we go back to the way in which we learn traditionally, and that's how we even question our kids. We say, what did you get from school today? But I'm performance-based. I might not be able to communicate it in that way. So you have to even ask me the right questions, because me going onto the computer or learning how to use a game, play a game, or get onto YouTube, I don't have to explain it. Mm-hmm. Nobody explained it to me, but I automatically know how to do it. So I am a doer. I am a performer. Let me show you that I know. And that's a higher level. That's higher ordered thinking. But we start off with our kids expecting them to be on the lower level of thinking. And the moment, and I remember I was talking to my nephew when I first started tutoring with him, and he jumped from, I'm starting at the first, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Bloom's taxonomy, there are 6 different levels of knowledge, right? And so you should always be teaching to all 6 of those levels when you tackle a topic with a kid, a skill, a strategy. You should go through all 6 of them before you move to the next thing. And so I'm starting at the lower rung, and my nephew, he immediately jumps up to the top. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Let me interrupt you, child. So let me, cause she's talking about my child, and I have got to say this. So I first want to point out that I've asked you all in the chat. So this is a conversation. I want to know in the chat, do any of you have kids that you raise or influence? If so, tell me a little bit about your kids so that we can include them in this discussion, and any questions you have that you want to ask a transformative educator. Any questions you have, this is a great time to ask those questions. And we just got started, Tavares, so you are good. We are just getting started, and we're talking about the education of our children initially. We're going to broaden this out to us specifically, but anybody you raise or influence, share this with us. I'm going to talk about the one that I raised, right? So the one that I raised is so true what you just said, because a lot of times we are thinking, okay, let's start at the basic level and let's work our way up. And they are so far beyond sometimes. And it's just because we have not explored the type of learner that they are. So our expectation of them is in a whole nother area when they are leaps and bounds above and beyond in a whole nother area. And so my personal testimony about this is my son is a freaking genius. He's a freaking genius. But in order for that to be displayed and to flourish and to blossom, there has to be somebody who speaks his language, who speaks to his gifting and brings that out. And Bathsheba Smithen is that person who has caused him to shine bright and flourish. And he has to show you what he's doing. He cannot just tell you, he's got to show you. Okay, I'm hoping you can see me and hear me. I'm hoping I'm still here. Yeah. He has to be able to show us. And so, and I love that you said that's a higher order of thinking, and the tutoring that he has gotten, the pouring in that he has gotten directly from you, not just as his aunt, but as an educator and a tutor, has been life-changing, really life-changing. So I'm sorry, and I interrupted you. I'm sure you got more to say.
Well, I just wanted to, because I wanted to go on with, and thank you, Nikki, for that. Mm-hmm. The different, because we're talking about performance-based learners and we're talking about technology. My daughter was she was able to use a cell phone at 1 year old. Like at 1 year old. And so if we start thinking that way, we have to begin changing like this educational paradigm. And when we look at the educational system right now, it is probably the only system that has not moved with technology. Right?
Wow.
We're still back in the day with the way in which we educate our students, and our students are far beyond that. And so we're saying they're behind, but really we are behind in the way in which we're teaching them.
Wow.
And so I would say that too. And as a parent, understand that while there is, because I'm getting ready to get into just this interest-based learning culture, like meaning focusing on student interest, what they're interested in, but also understanding that there are standards too that are not necessarily your enemy, but they are guidelines, like milestones that you get when you sign up for baby center, and you're expecting your child and you're following that baby center milestone guide. You need a guideline. So I'm kind of going all over the place with this, but I wanted to say this to parents, the performance-based piece, and then also interest, because there are, in addition to you focusing on the interest of your child and considering self-paced learning, you want to also understand that your child is so smart, that they will manipulate that self-pace and take as long as they want to take, because you think that it's taking them that much time, but really, it really wouldn't take them that long. They just know, well, I have time because you've given me time. So having those milestones in place and standards, giving yourself some type of pacing chart so that your child is moving along at the actual pace of your child, not the one that they might show you or demonstrate.
Yeah, that's really good. So there's a question in the chat that I would love for you to address, because you got a lot of agreement about students being advanced and having special skills. How, as a parent, how as an adult who influences children, how do we identify what their special skills are, what their areas that we should hone in on that would help them flourish? That is the question. Like, how do we discover what those are?
Okay, so I'll start off by saying, one, look at something that irritates you that your child does. Like something that irritates the mess out of you. It is a gift. I'm going to tell you right now, because I used to irritate my moms to the nth degree. I would always correct her language. I didn't know why I did it, but it would annoy the mess out of me when my mom would make up words and she would say stuff like, I got all of this worryation.
What is worryation?
Or she would say stuff like Walmart. Like there was no K at the end of Walmart. And so it would really irritate me, and I'm sure it irritated her, but she saw it just as an irritation, not as something that I could possibly be trying to show her as a gifting of mine. Yeah. So I was starting off by looking at, what are some of the things that your child does that irritates you? Is it that they, like they're always trying to do multiple things at one time, or they're trying to do things very quickly all the time? Maybe that child has something in them that where they need to channel that energy. Or maybe your child just always, you see your child at school and they tell you they just won't sit down. They just will not sit down. And it's irritating you that you keep getting these calls from the school about your child constantly being up. But you notice also at home that your child likes to dance, that your child likes to get up and slide across the floor, do flips and everything else across the floor. Those are indicators of your child's giftings, right? Your child may need to be up and moving musically to learn. Your child might need to do something like that, or your child might be into sports, or they may need to be in gymnastics, or they may need to do some kinesthetic movements in order for them to memorize the content or to even understand the content, because I know how I am. And I've gotten really good in Real Women, because I sit my tail down the whole time, and that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Nikki can attest, it took me a long time to be able to sit down that long. I can't do it because I always have to be up and moving. And when you have a child that's like that, that shows you that your child is highly creative. There's too much going on in their minds for them to sit there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and just not move or do anything. So that's one thing. Look at something that irritates you. Look at, if you have a little baby, right, like a really, really small child, that look at the small things that they do, such as like my daughter, she will always need to line up her stockings, the little line on the top of the tights, with her toe.
Wow.
Just like, and it would take me like two hours to get out of the house because that frustrated her, but that was a sign of her being gifted.
Yeah. Let me interject. That is so good. I just want to interject for a second because there are a couple of follow-up. There's one follow-up question to that. And I wanted to add to what you're saying. You made me think about the child that loves to talk, and it gets on a parent's nerves that they will just not be quiet. That is a sign of gifting, that they ask a bunch of questions, that they are, my son is really into music. And so, and he doesn't like to sit still. We have to tell him to sit back down to eat dinner. Like, you're not done, man. Sit down. You just had 2 bites. Sit back down. Sit back down. But he loves to move. He loves to dance. He loves music. And so you have tapped into his interests. And as a result, he's learning. So he's learning academics through music, literally learning how to spell to music. And it's just an amazing experience. And so I want you in a second to talk about the tutoring programs that you have, what's coming for the summer, as well as what you already do and what's available. But I wanted to read a couple of these comments because they are in here. Just really excited about what you're sharing. Tavaria said, as a father, one of the most impactful moments that helped me educate and influence my children is identifying areas where I was miseducated. That's really good. And V says, that's why the Bible says, train them up in the way they should go. So it's an idea of getting an idea of where they are so that you can continue to cultivate that. And then Tisha asked a follow-up question. She was saying, once you identify those skills, those things that irritate you, those things that you notice that they tend to gravitate toward, once they're identified, is this something that can help to identify their future career, or are we just moving? Do we make those connections? And I'm just going to start by saying yes, because what you have helped me do is recognize how musically inclined my son is and how he can learn best through music. And as a result, I've gotten him a music tutor, and he's into music engineering and DJing and all that type of stuff. And so, he may change his mind at some point in the future, but I'm gearing him toward classes and learning experiences that match his interests, so that he'll be more equipped as he moves forward to develop in whatever career he chooses. So I wanted to read some of the comments from everybody, but I wanted you, any comments you have related to that, but also to speak to what you provide specifically to people, because you don't just do it locally, you also do it virtually, so that no matter where people live, you offer that as well. I know I just gave you a lot, but go ahead.
So that was Tisha, you said about careers.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to say to Tisha that I would say yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, I would say yes and no, and I like how you put that, Nikki, because I want the purpose of Cage-Free Voices is to remove labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remove labels. And so I think we might be quick to say, because I see X, Y, and Z, this is the direction my child is headed in. But because I have been in the background as a curriculum developer and been able to see where education is headed, what exists now may not necessarily exist 10 years down the line. So where your child may be using their gifts may be in a place that you might not even see right now.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Maybe in a career that does not currently exist. And so it does not mean that they don't need to be pursuing those interests, but the way in which those interests are executed may be different. It may be very different than what we could even fathom today, right? So there are different careers that are going to exist in the future. That, I mean, look at our stores, look at how, look at your television, look at how we're transitioning out of cable television and moving into things like Netflix. And I'm not saying this to promote one over the other. I'm just saying that there's a major shift that's happening. So whatever your child likes, yes, push them in the direction of doing that while also getting their basic needs met. But don't try to automatically put a label on where you think they're headed, because it may not necessarily be the case. And I'll go ahead.
I was just going to say the words that came to mind was don't box them in, because
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead, keep going.
I was going to say, for me, like, I thought because I got a biology degree that I was going to be a doctor. So I automatically try to fit it in something. I thought because I'm a poet, I was going to fit it into, I'm going to be a spoken word artist because I'm a performer. I'm a performer and that's it. No, all of this stuff came together to produce what I have right now. And I could not foresee that. Like, I wasn't able to see that ahead of time. So I'm just saying the same thing about our kids. There's so much stuff coming down the pipeline that we can't see right now.
That's good. That's good. So speak to, because I have one other question that relates to us as adults. But I want you to say something about what you offer as far as your programs are concerned, because people are watching this now, or they will watch this, and they are looking for help. I know I was. They are looking for help with their young people, and I even know, I'm aware that you help strengthen the skills of adults even, and your skill set and your assistance of folks goes beyond our children. I know you do transcription of documents and all those types of things, but specifically about our children, what programs do you have available for them?
So I have Cage-Free Voices tutoring, which is in person, but that's on lock right now until we have interns, and that's what we're working on.
So are you saying you maxed out? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? You gotta grow? Oh,
I'm maxed out for the in-person. And because I'm just one person right now. And then I have Cage-Free Voices online, and that is growing rapidly. Cage-Free Voices online tutoring. And so it's an opportunity for you to get your child one-on-one instruction where they get help with reading, writing, grammar, or math. So if your child needs help in any one of those areas, regardless of where they are in the country, they can get help through our Cage-Free Voices online tutoring program. And then I'm so excited to say that we have Cage-Free Voices Summer Camp, which is a performance-based learning summer camp. So it's an infusion of reading, writing, math with dance, music, and just pretty much the performing arts. So it's everything mixed in there. And I will tell you, the kids, I mean, just from the small parts of what we do here in tutoring, they love learning through performance. And my aha moment came when I was teaching 9th grade English, and I had one 9th grade student who had a D. No, he had an F in my class because we have Ds. He had an F in English. And the moment that I created a mock trial for him to demonstrate what he knew, I saw a different kid. I saw a different kid, and his grade went from an F to a B.
Wow.
It drastically transformed. And from that point on, he ended up just excelling. He went to FAMU. Like, a lot of our students ended up going to some really good universities. But kids love to show you what they know versus you just asking them to tell you. And yes, that's important too. But they want to show you that they know, that they've learned the content, and I think that's more important anyway, because you would rather have somebody a doctor working on you who actually knows how to apply what they've learned versus being able to tell you like answers on a multiple choice test.
Yeah, that's good. Could you give us exactly where to go to get this information? And if one of the real women could put the website in the chat, and I know we're going to post a flyer in the chat after we're done, but what website could they go to get more information about what you offer?
Okay, so for tutoring, you could go to cagefreevoices.com/tutoring. If you're interested in a summer camp, you could go on my Facebook page. There is a registration link, and I can put that link at the bottom in the comments too. You can click there and get all signed up. There are only 15 spaces available for the summer camp for each session, so a total of 30 kids. But there's going to be a culminating performance that I'm really excited about. I'm calling it like, no, I'm not even gonna put, yeah, I will go ahead and say it. But I'm calling it kind of like, the best way I could describe it is Hamilton on steroids for kids. It's not just focused on one historical era, but it is just different things that you could learn in terms of reading strategies and skills and writing and grammar and math, all of that fused together into a production.
Wow. I'm so excited.
I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
And it's at the Depot. I'm so excited. I can't get my words together. Depot and Waldorf. I'm super excited about this because, I was in your house when we had the aha moment, like, this is how it all comes together. Yes. And yes, I do a number of different things. And in addition to the camps and everything else, just to give you a little bit of my expertise, I will also be traveling across the country to help transform schools. I've been writing curriculum for a while. And I think one of the things that I wanted to discuss was the need for things to change in the U.S. school system because our educational system is failing.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that a bit more. Time is flying by, and you've got a whole lot of comments in here. V says, "Where were you 8 years ago when she needed somebody for her son?"
Girl, I was defiant. I was like, God, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be on MTV and BET and get my Emmy and my Grammy and all of that.
And it's so funny how things just flow after you release and surrender and start doing exactly what you were supposed to be doing anyway.
I know, right?
Tisha said, labels on our children definitely need to be removed. Technology will definitely drive our future careers. They agree with you. And lots of positive comments. Bessie's up here saying, hey. So would love for you to speak a little bit to education. I have one question before that. We have about a good 7-8 more minutes to go. I would love for you to speak to us as adults. So I'm thinking about myself, and I'm asking, who should I be? What should I be thinking about doing or just being in order to be the best influence for our young people in front of us, whether we are raising them or influencing them because they're around us? As an adult, as a woman, as a man, who should we be? What should we be doing? What should we be thinking about so that they can before them see a positive example into adulthood?
I think you need to come to the table as a child. I think you need to come to the table as a child. And so seeing through their lens and as the child version of, not saying that you won't still be a parent to your child, but certain parts of your communication with your child, you're going to need to be very vulnerable, and you're going to need to take down some of your walls, that need to be authoritative or to say this is a dictatorship. You're going to have to listen, and your child's going to be able to see themselves in you. So more often than not, the things that our students struggle with are things we struggle with. And that's a testament for me too. I'm not just talking to y'all, I'm talking about myself too. Because every time I see my daughter doing something, I'm checking myself like, where did she get that from? Like, when do I do that? How can I improve in that area? I need to be transparent, not to the point of where you tell your child stuff that could be detrimental to them, but you could say things like, I remember my daughter went to before and after care, And the before and after care provider told me she just ignored me and would not respond. And I was like, where'd she get that from? And my daughter gets in the car and I say, you shouldn't do that. If I put you in the care of somebody, you need to respect them, da, da, da. And I was like, why were you ignoring this person? And she said, well, mommy, you ignore me.
Wow. Wow.
And I was like, well, we both need to work on that.
Yeah.
We will both be working on that. So we need to be very open to correction ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to be open to the correction that our children may identify that needs to be made within us in order for that change to happen within them. And so I would say vulnerability is key. This is real. Like we're talking real women. I'm being real with you guys right now, that we have to be vulnerable. We have to be open to hearing our kids. And we also have to listen when somebody is prescribing something that says this is effective and it is proven effective, instead of us thinking that we have all of the answers and we'll just figure that joint out fly by night.
Yeah, that is so good. The vulnerability piece, the even coming as a child and asking the right questions, listening to make sure we're hearing and discerning what people are saying about our children, and then not being afraid to have, I'll use the word again, vulnerable conversations with our children to see ourselves in them. I love that. You've gotten a whole lot of kudos in here. I want to ask you all in the chat, and this is our last question as we move into just kind of closing out. I want to ask in the chat, what do you all think about the state of education right now? What is happening that you notice when it comes to education in general, or specific educational situations that you have experienced with your children or the children that you influence? What is your general take on that? And while you're answering that in the chat, I would love for you to give your take on it. Sheba, where do you think we are right now? And even where do you think we need to be moving in just the state of education in general?
Well, after hearing about one state that has 5 school districts failing and another district in Virginia, I'm not going to say the name of the district, but knowing that they have 5 alternative schools and the district is on the verge of being shut down and merged with another district, and then knowing about, schools in various states that are failing, I would say that there is about to be a serious shift. And somebody has to come in and transform the way we're doing things, because this is not just K through 12 schools. This is college level. This is university level too. We have people who are getting degrees who do not know their content, who cannot read and write. And so it is becoming not only an epidemic, but a pandemic. So I think there has to be a shift. And if it's not going to happen at the level of legislation, at the legislative level, then we have to put our boots on as parents and begin advocating for our students and doing what we need to do to get them the content that they need. We need to not only look at how our students are doing within our states or in our or within our districts, looking at comparing our students to how students are doing globally, because we're in a global economy. So we need to begin doing that. And the only reason I have that perspective is because I was in the international baccalaureate. So my content, the stuff that, I was graded on an international level. All my stuff went overseas to be graded. So looking at that from that lens, I don't want us to become complacent and say, because we see that our child my child got straight A's and we're posting it on Facebook, like my child gifted, my child got, like this presidential award. To be real with you guys, My daughter's standing right here, so I'm going to be very careful about my words. Those things could mean diddly.
Mm-hmm.
They can mean absolutely nothing,
Mm-hmm.
especially because there's so many different nuances to grading and how people decide they're going to distribute grades, whether or not they're going to be a reflection of what somebody has earned or what they decide to give based on behavior. So make sure that you are doing your due diligence. And I know many of us, many of you all may have 9-to-5 jobs, and it's very difficult to stay on top of things, but you have to send those emails, ask the teacher questions. When the teacher is telling you that your child is irate or they're not behaving correctly, you have to begin asking those questions. And if you need to bring in a school advocate, somebody to advocate and come with you into a meeting to do that, I've gone to school with parents. Like, I'm going to go because I'm going to ask the right questions. Like when I went to school one time and I had a student who the teacher kept saying the student lacked focus. I'm going to give this to you as an example. The student lacks focus. The student is not paying attention. And so while the parents are going to sit down with the teacher, I am at the student's desk and I put my hand in the desk and all of these blank papers come out. So I take the papers over to the teacher while they're talking, and I took one of the assignments out and I said, okay, so I asked the student, I said, could you, and it's a math assignment, could you read this for me? The student could not read the math assignment because it was too difficult and it was beyond the level of reading for that particular student. So guess what? I am not going to be on task if I can't read the content that you're giving me.
Right.
And at the level of complexity, it's not even on the level of this grade. You're writing questions based on how you write, not based on the level of your students. So that's why you have to begin advocating for your kids and not just automatically taking somebody's word for it, taking your child home saying there are going to be disciplinary actions. I'm taking this and this and this away. And then you wonder why you don't get, you don't see any changes, is because that child is feeling like they're not being heard. So I think that as parents, we have to begin saying, because a lot of things are not being done. And we don't even have to begin talking about bullying. That's another level. That's another level, because it is right now, it is so intense that I'm talking to insurance company. Insurance rates are going up just to deal with kids.
Wow.
Just because you're dealing with kids, and people are not wanting to deal with them because of all that's happening in the schools, because of the shootings, because, of molestation charges and everything else. So I say you have to be the biggest advocate for your child more than anybody else. More than you relying on a teacher or a principal to do that. You can long gone are the days where you just send your child to school and you hope that everything is good and you do your job in your 9 to 5. Nope, can't do it.
Let me stop you. So first of all, I know everybody and their mama can see, a blind man can see how passionate you are about our kids, about education and where it should be and where we should be as a result of where it is. And you've got a whole lot of awesome comments in here, things that folks have noticed. Carla says they've definitely dumbed down the curriculum. It's like they're afraid to challenge their minds and introduce new ideas to the kids.
Can I say something to that? Go ahead. Okay, so there are only a number of publishing companies that produce your textbooks. So when they decide they want to dilute history, history is diluted. It is what they say it is, right? So if they decide that, they're going to dumb down the information for your child and say, oh, you know what, because we had that happen with, I'm not going to name it, but with one particular standardized test. And this is, we're talking about adult education. So it's cyclical. It's cyclical, guys. So we're talking about adult education. Oh, they can't make it there. So ultimately at the top level, we're going to decide to lower the bar just so you can, because we feel like you can't reach this bar. So we're going to lower it. And now you're feeling good. You're feeling good. You're feeling like you've accomplished something when you haven't.
because the bar has been lowered.
Right.
Woo! Addie said the inequalities in school funding bother her. She's also bothered by the fact that the kids aren't encouraged to be their best selves. Meltania said this is why as parents can't just rely on teachers in the classroom. She's echoing everything you just said. Teachers are everywhere and learning happens everywhere. And V said, no one in my family, adults finished school. Wow, V. My kids and I did. I was the first to graduate high school and move on to higher education. My oldest son is the first male in our family to obtain a degree. Child, yes, we got plucks and claps for you, V.
Me too, V. Me too.
Yes, so huge. And Meltania was saying, I guess the flip side of what you were saying about the child not understanding the instructions could also be that the child understood too much and they were bored and you didn't feed them enough, you know? So
right.
It could be so many great comments in here.
I don't want to throw the teachers to the wolves either, right? Because the teachers are overwhelmed. And they're expected to be everything to their classrooms are at capacity. So again, you cannot expect when the teachers are overwhelmed for them to be able to just do everything that a teacher would be able to do if they only had 10 kids, like they only had 10 to 15 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And shout out to all of the educators because, having been one and taught in high school and then in college, I know if I could have transformed the system from the inside out and the outside in, I personally would have done it. But then teachers are graded on and assessed by how many of their students pass certain assessments and all those things. And so your literal livelihood sometimes can be connected to the system and the way that is set up. So definitely shout out to teachers and for all that they endure. Mama Mary agrees. She says teachers are underpaid, overworked, and class is too big. You have to check on your children, do a surprise visit to class or eat lunch with them. Just really good comments in here. Netta said the bar is set so low for our children in these schools. Okay, and so evidently y'all gonna keep this going. So I'm just gonna keep it going. I do have one question in here about what's your view on homework and should they receive it daily?
That's a good question. You said that's a good question when you don't have your response just yet.
Give you time to think about it.
So I've been vacillating with that. I think I've been studying Finland, and they have very minimal homework, and the kids are doing they do a phenomenal job. They're learning and they're very intelligent. I think that practice is important. I think practice is important. And if your child is not getting enough practice, they need homework. That's what I think. I think they need homework, just like you're not going to improve. And I tell my students this all the time, like if you play a sport, let's say you play basketball or you play lacrosse, the only way that you're going to get better at basketball or lacrosse or you do ballet is for you to continue to practice. It's the same thing with reading. You cannot expect for your child to improve and make so many leaps and bounds if they're not reading. They should be reading every day. But the thing is, if you look at it as homework, you don't have to say like this is your homework. Like when education becomes fun and it is just a part of your lifestyle, it is constant practice all the time. I asked my daughter, because she's reading what's the name of the book, Zoe? $1 Million Habits. $1 Million Habits with the Cage Free Voices team. So she's joined us, and that's her book that she's reading right now. One of the things that it talked about was like, developing good habits versus, the bad habits that are easy to come by. And I asked Zoe, I said, what are one of the positive habits that you think you have? And she was like, I write all the time. I don't have to tell my daughter to go and write a story. She has stuff written up in my house, essays that she's written about, like why it's unfair for, women to be cast in certain roles and why they don't get leading roles as villains or heroes. And I'm like, where do you get this stuff from? Like, I didn't tell you to write this up. So if your child gets into the habit of just becoming, just educating themselves, They won't look at certain things as homework. And that's how I grew up. I remember we used to have a lot of toys like 2XL. Well, it was fun, to just like push the button and try to figure trivia, like try to figure out, like, do I know the answer to this? I think practice is important, not necessarily saying the term homework, but it is important for your child to get as much practice in as possible.
And thank you for that. And I'm sure that helped. Tisha, let us know if that helps, your perspective on it. I love that, because what I have appreciated most as a parent is the new lens that you have helped put on learning for me and my son, that, that I'm the most creative, wonderfully, ingenious, ambitious person when it comes to my job. And whatever that is, whether it's Real Women or when I had a 9-to-5, whatever that is, I put all of my creative genius into it. And then when I get home and I'm ready to help him, or when we're sitting down, I don't know where it went. It went all out the window. I don't know where the thing went. But to be able to experience it through your tutoring program and through the kinds of learning that you bring up for the kids, I know it exhausts you. You tell me that it's exhausting to see and discern what they need, and then to come up with something, let me just think of a song, or let me just, that kind of thing, or give them a dance. But the fact that you're able to do that is inspiring for the kids, as well as for the parents that experience it. So I wanted to say thank you for that. I want to, we could keep going, and we'll just have to invite you back so that you can talk more about it and how we connect to it. What I want to reiterate is, and I have one last quick question for you, but I want to reiterate that she has a tutoring program at cagetreevoices.com. You can look into that, and then go to her Facebook page, and we're going to post the link in here as well for the summer program. If you are not local to the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, because it's going to be in Charles County, Maryland, the summer program, she does offer online tutoring. And I don't know how regularly this is, but I know that you have tutored online and virtual adults as well as children. And so if you need to strengthen your skills, or if you have young people in your life, whether you raise them or influence them, and she writes curriculum, all of these things. So anything education and entertainment related and connecting the two, you can reach out to Bathsheba for. You have still wonderful things coming. And I'm going to challenge you all, because y'all got to go eat dinner. So do we. So, or if you have it, get ready for bed. But we have to keep this conversation going, evidently, because you're going to have to go back into the chat, Bathsheba. But
I wanted to say they can get the educational games too.
Oh, yeah. So not only have you created curriculum, but that whole creative piece you have capsulized in your own original games and products that are also on the website. Did you want to say something quickly about those?
It's still the cagetreevoices.com website, but it's /store. So if you're interested in dance and act your way into reading, that's a 6x4-foot floor mat. There are antonym and synonym flashcards. There are the fun phonics hip hop jingles, the beta version, until we actually incorporate the instrumentals. And then there's a bunch of other stuff up there too.
Yeah. And I want to put you on the spot. I'm sorry. I'm putting you on the spot to ask, because there are like maybe 3 or 4 really good questions that we're just not going to get to. If you wouldn't mind just taking a second to go in, because I think that there might be a couple of people who are interested in some of your services based on some of the questions that I'm seeing. And then, yes, Bathsheba Smithen, that's how you find her. She is as original and unique and gifted as her name implies. And so I would love for everyone who is impacted positively by this live to share this with someone who you know needs to hear it, an educator who needs to be encouraged, who is discouraged by what's happening in the classroom right now. Know that there's somebody advocating on their behalf, and that they are not alone in this fight for our children. But also hear the part about us and how we, even if we don't have children of our own, influence other children by being the best that we can be before them, being as vulnerable as we can be. I'll just ask, because you are connected as we're closing, Sheba, in a second, to share how Real Women has impacted you. As I'm in these closing announcements, I want to make sure that you all go to realwomenrock.org. If you want any information about who we are and what we do. These lives are to give you a sneak peek into some of the kinds of things that we talk about in our live and virtual sister circles. And we are all about personal development and holistic development. And so we talk about everything, and we want to grow from the inside out. And so you can go to our events page to find out more about our physical spaces. We have an intensive coming up in September. And then if you go to the Work With Us page, you can see Become an All Access member. We would love for you to connect with us more than just this live, more than even just coming to our monthly sister circles if you're local. If you're not local, our All Access community is there for you because women from all over the place are connected. Thank you so much for being a part of our live. You have been instrumental and a part of Real Women from its inception. So I would love for you to close us out with any closing words you have about the topic, and then maybe why you would encourage a woman to connect with Real Women.
Well, I would encourage you guys to definitely, like my brother Greg would say, definitely to connect with Real Women. When I think about my experience in Real Women and what it has done for me, I started, when she was talking about it, I started picturing like the ground. Started picturing like a seed in the ground, right? And so, and a seed that's buried really, really, really far down in the ground, so far that at times it could possibly just end up buried and never grow. But Real Women is able to nurture, right? Like Real Women has been able to nurture and at times to uproot, you know, like where I was at different points in time so that I could be planted in a place where I could grow so that certain things would be birthed out of me. So I would say if being connected to Real Women has allowed me to grow exponentially, and I call, you know, like I tell my sister, you know, like she's a cultivator and she's a catalyst. And so it definitely will move you forward, not just help you deal with your emotions and your personal development, but it's going to ignite you. It's going to ignite you. Where does the minister go to be ministered to? Where does the educator go to be educated? Where does the person who is cage free with their potential, you know, like sparks flying all over the place, go to be insulated? You know what I'm saying? Like I had sparks flying all over the place, you know, because I just had sparks flying all over and all glory to God, like all glory to God. But I believe that God used Real Women and continues to use Real Women to help people evolve and to insulate people. While Cage Free Voices helps to unlock potential, Real Women helps to channel that potential, right? So that you're not sparking off all over the place and burning things up, you know, because you don't have, you know, that seamless flow. And I remember my sister telling me, you know, you're a dope poet, but you need to craft that thing. And the moment that I heard that, you know, I was able to, it was like an insulator. And so now there's a current that's flowing.
That is so good. Lord have mercy. Thank you so much. This is the perfect note to end on. Thank you all for being with us. We went, typically we're about 30 or 40 minutes, but this was just so meaty and so good. It was worth every minute of it. Again, please share this with someone. Don't be selfish. Don't say, "Ooh, that was good," and then keep it to yourself. Share it with someone. Go to cagefreevoices.com. Go to Bathsheba's page on Facebook. And let's do something with what we have learned in this live. And I so appreciate you all being with us. We will be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. so that we can give you another sneak peek into what it means to be a part of Real Women. And until then, you can go to realwomenrock.org to get more information about who we are and what we offer you. Thank you again, Sheba. Love you.
Me too.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.